Welcome to Friday Morning Dharma on October 31st, Halloween morning. Let's go ahead and settle into a comfortable meditation posture. Please take care to ensure that your spine is straight and relaxed. Our mouth is closed, our jaw is relaxed. And if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and softly close your eyes. Please feel free to bring your awareness to the exhalation of your breath and very gently allow your exhalation to be just a bit longer and a bit more pronounced than your inhalation. Please feel free to experiment with pausing briefly at the bottom of each exhalation. There is an aspect of the body that is referred to sometimes as the inner body. Some schools of meditation refer to it as the subtle body. And by coming into contact with our inner body, we can make manifest a more supple, tranquil state of awareness. So to accomplish this, I'd like you to please draw your awareness inside of your body and become aware of sensations. These sensations may start in your hands and your feet in the form of a tingling, perhaps a lightness, perhaps a heaviness, perhaps a pulsation. No analysis is necessary. No interpretation is necessary. Just be the silent observer of these sensations and allow a more awakened state of awareness to emerge. Moment by moment, the mountain simply observes silently. Rain may fall on the mountain, the wind may blow, the sun may shine, perhaps all of the above, perhaps none of the above. The mountain simply observes silently. No judgment, no labeling, no comparing, no expectation. Be like a mountain as you silently observe sensations within your own body mountain. Barefooted and naked of breast, I mingle with the people of the world. My clothes are ragged and dust laden, and I am ever blissful. I use no magic to extend my life. Now, before me, the dead trees become alive. Please gently redirect your awareness Become aware again of your physical body and allow your breathing to become less shallow. Taking deeper and deeper breaths, become aware again of the garments of clothing resting on the surface of your physical body. Become aware again of your surroundings inside the room that you're occupying. Deeper and deeper breaths, becoming aware again of the world that exists outside of the room that you're occupying. Become aware again of clouds, of blue sky beyond the clouds, of limitless space beyond the blue sky. We dedicate all of the merit, all of the positive energy from this morning's meditation to world peace. May all beings without exception enjoy an abundance of pure air and water, delicious, nutritious food, safe, warm, dry, reliable, affordable shelter, and comfortable, functional, attractive clothing. And with everyone's basic needs met, may we all enter and progress on wisdom paths that lead to complete and permanent liberation from all forms of suffering. Completely fill up your belly and lungs with air, and when you are ready, you can open your eyes and bring your meditation to an end. Thank you and welcome back. So that barefooted and naked of breast bit at the end, that's from one of my favorite texts, a Zen text called The 10 Bulls of Zen. And it's an analogy of training the bull and training the mind. And yeah, those are what the 10 steps go through, drawing that comparison and how training the mind is like training the bull. And the the one the 10th verse that I shared with you is kind of the completion of the path. In the world, it's called. So really beautiful. If you'd like to dig into it yourself, it can be found in a book, kind of a contemporary book called Zen Flesh, Zen Bones. So I mean contemporary book as in you don't have to research ancient libraries for this text. There's a contemporary copy of it available, pretty accessible. So this morning's class is going to kind of be like an epilogue to our discussion of In Love with the World by Youngi Mingyur, which I don't know, spent 4 or 5 months going through, I think. Yeah, long time. Um, so to kind of lead into um, kind of what I'd like to share with you and what's on my mind with regard to our completion of the text. I want to sort of provide some context, and in doing so, I'll remind you of one of the most famous sort of verses or statements by the Buddha, and that was, all that we are arises with our mind. With our mind, we create the world. All that we are arises with our mind. With our mind, we create the world. And one of the most powerful minds or functions of mind that we can use to create the world is imagination. Yeah. We imagine things into existence. I'm sure that most of you stopped to think about that. Yeah. This building we're in is a product of imagination, right? Not necessarily the Lotus Center part, that is too, but the physical structure itself, which was originally built in 1910, old building. Yeah. I won't get into the problems with inhabit being in an old building, but yeah, don't get me started. But, you know, this building that we're in started with someone's imagination, like maybe an architect somewhere said, oh, this would be a nice design for a building. And, put pen to paper and, dimensions and specifics and specs, as it were. And poof, building arises and appears. So it is with like everything in our lives. Yeah. Currency. Currency is a product of imagination. Um, Husband, wife, even like fundamentals, like building blocks of our existence, self and other, created by imagination. Yeah. What about what happens after this body ceases, which is kind of as you know, a focal point of the book that we just finished. What about imagining what happens after we die? Sorry, after we die, I use the term loosely, after this body ceases, right? Probably the main message that I shared with you from Friday's class, main message that I shared with you from the end of Yongey Mingyur's text was Yongey Mingyur, um, he didn't talk about it directly, but I can tell you that Tibetan Buddhist schools, at least the one Yongey Mingyur studied in and was raised in, trained in, they rehearse the death process. Okay. It's a death process that's rehearsed. And I talked about this. Remember, I said you rehearse visualizing in that school what happens as you start to die. There are different appearances to mind as the different elements of the body cease. So like I talked about, there's the cessation of as the water element starts to cease and dissolve, there's a smoke-like period appearance. As the fire element starts to cease, there is something called firefly-like appearance, like sparkling firefly type. And so there are the four elements, earth, water, fire, and wind. As the four elements dissolve, there are appearances to mind that happen. And then there's more beyond that. And ultimately, one imagines one's rebirth. Yeah. Yeah. One imagine one's rebirth through this rehearsal process, through meditation, so that when the actual death process begins at the end of our life, maybe later today, maybe years from now, maybe somewhere in between, we'll recognize what's happening. Oh, here the firefly-like appearance. Here's the smoke appearance. Oh, I see what's going on. And my job is to basically keep it between the lines. Yeah, we still have awareness as this unfolding of the death process occurs. And because we've rehearsed it so many times, we recognize it and can kind of guide it to a fortunate rebirth, right? And what Yongey Mingyur said in the text is all of the studies that we did, all of the practices, all of the dress rehearsals we did for the most important moment of this life, the moment of our death, Yangye Mingyur says, all of the rehearsing that we did, all of the practicing, I died and I was resuscitated. So I can tell you it's exactly as they say. It's exactly as they say in the practices. It played out exactly like we rehearsed it. Now, some of you may be thinking to yourselves, well, I've heard of other near-death experiences, and they didn't say nothing about firefly-like appearances, and they didn't say nothing about smoke appearance, smoke-like appearance, and all this stuff. A lot of the near-death experience recounts that I've heard, you might be thinking to yourself that I watched on YouTube videos, right? Um, Talked about white light, like white light and going to, down this tunnel. And, sometimes people talk about seeing loved ones who have preceded them in death. So what the heck is going on here? You might be asking yourself. Is it white light with tunnel and so forth? Or is it like Yangye Mingyur described, the different appearances to mind as the four elements dissolve? I bring you back to imagination. Imagination. We create with our imagination what happens in the death process. Right? Think about that. Please, I'm beseeching you to think about this carefully. Right? I think that we otherwise think, oh, there's like this objectively defined death process that occurs. And we just sort of like find it, like when we're in the intermediate state. There's like this almost inherently existing death process, this objective death process that is sort of like out there waiting to be discovered. And we find it, and oh, here it is. And we go through it. And it's like existing of its own accord. No, no, you create what happens during your death process with your mind via your imagination. But that doesn't make it any less real. Yeah. It doesn't make it any less real, just like building. To the extent that building is real, created with imagination, death process is real with via imagination. It's so profound. It is so trippy to me, anyways, to sort of wrap my head around this, that if I imagine this process long enough with enough clarity and enough consistency, then this is what will happen when I die. Or alternatively, the white tunnel and the white light and the tunnel and all the rest of it, that can be your reality too. That can be your reality that occurs during the death process. It's like amazing and amazingly good news, right? Because, and so it is with Catholics too. Catholics, purgatory, like purgatory is this part of the death process for Catholics. Heaven, hell, you know, which is right, which is right. White light with tunnel, dissolution of the elements with smoke-like appearance, all the purgatory, heaven, hell, which is the definitive right, correct thing, our thinking mind wants to know. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Now, I've just got one more minute to kind of wrap this up. The trick is, you guys, once we land on this death process, what occurs, and we practice and come to anticipate it and participate in it, the thinking mind has to cease. We have just got to embrace the isness of this, the truthness of this, without allowing the thinking mind to be part of the process. You see, it can't be, oh yeah, I'm imagining this. So this is the death process that we're going to go through, that I'm creating with my mind. Or like reasons, this is valid because the sutras and the tantras say that it's valid like this. So that's what it, no, it needs to be spontaneous, free of thought, a product of awareness. Just, it needs to be an isness. It just needs to be for you without reasons, without any mental construct whatsoever, without comparing, without the logic of the thinking mind. It needs to move into being a product of awareness for it to work. It's the Mahamudra. It's the Mahamudra of the death process. For those of you who are, familiar, we've talked about Mahamudra in the past. It needs to be the Mahamudra of the death process. So that's a lot. That's a lot, especially for your first class here, David. We do talk about more mainstream topics like karma and patient acceptance and loving kindness and stuff. This is just kind of the end of this text. So consider it with an open mind, please. And study Young and Mingyur's book, continue to read over it, just contemplate. So where we go from here, we'll talk about that on Monday's class, kind of what our next text might be or our next body of study and practice, contemplation, whatever. Happy Halloween, happy Day of the Dead. Have a great weekend, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Most welcome.
Jeff.